back. Today we are going to be talking about my collection. I've kind of been hinting at it a bit in past videos, but yeah, it's something that I started in school but I want to finish now. So to start, we are going to be talking about my brand. So in school they set it up so basically we come up with a brand and a logo and all of that, and then we come up with a minimum 3-piece collection that goes with the brand basically. So for me, I called my brand Denovo Eco, and I'll explain a bit about that. So Denovo means starting from the beginning or anew, and Eco is short for ecology. Ecology being a branch of biology that deals with organisms and their relationships to each other, and an organism and its relationships to its surroundings. And also with eco, you have this kind of association with like nature, eco-friendly, the environment, that kind of thing. So for me, when I went about kind of creating my brand and naming and all of that, I realized that a lot of this is stuff that would end up like in my portfolio. So I really wanted it to showcase the type of employer that I was trying to attract, and also the type of person that I was. And yeah, so when you look at the fashion industry, there's a lot of good stuff, and there's also a lot of bad stuff. And when we look at the relationship the fashion industry has with shall we say, the relationships the fashion industry has with the environment, when we look at the amount of waste that the fashion industry has, because it's creating a lot of these fibers that aren't breaking down, right? When we look at fast fashion, that kind of thing, how we are just constantly making so many clothes that aren't breaking down, so they're just sitting in landfills and in oceans and being sent overseas to other countries, and those countries are now having their fashion industries being broken down because they're just getting so many clothes from countries like Canada and America. When we look at fashion and its relationship with itself, when we look at the workers in it, the discrimination that we see when we look at fashion and relationship to its workers, you know, we've seen how many times that they have beyond suboptimal working conditions for their workers, because sweatshops, I guess, is what I'm trying to hint at, you know. And it's not even like these are just happening in places like India and Bangladesh. Like there are some in Hamilton and Toronto as well. So when we look at that, when we look at fashion and its relationship with the consumer, you know, the people buying what the industry is selling, and we see things like fashion deciding what exactly is a good body with the models and the things that they kind of promote. We see the idea of what is trendy and what is not, and what happens when you aren't trendy, that kind of thing. So for me personally, I think that a lot of these relationships are ones that need to change for the better, because they are very damaging and they're going to leave lasting impressions. So for me, the Denovo part comes in that the industry needs to begin again. You know, there needs to be new ways that this industry should operate, and I want to set an example. I want to show how these companies can build relationships to better the industries, that the industry doesn't have to be one that leaves behind such a bad carbon imprint. The industry doesn't have to be one that is hard to get into if you don't look a certain way, that doesn't leave people with low self-esteem, that doesn't leave its workers unprotected and uncared for. And that's also where the eco part comes into it. You know, not only is there that nature aspect that I was talking about, the care for the environment, but I also like that when we look at the biology part of the ecology, we get into things like relationships. And I think that is very important, because the relationship that the fashion industry has right now with a lot of other areas, they just aren't ones that are good. Fashion does not exist in a bubble, you know. It's never just one t-shirt. It needs to be considered what went into making that t-shirt, who made it, who are you selling it to, and how does it affect them, the ways in which you're trying to convince them to buy your shirt, and what happens to your shirt after you design it and you sell it. You know, those are things that all need to be considered. You know, it is one big environment, it's all connected, and you need to study these relationships if we want things to be better. So that's why I chose the name Denovo Eco, because I like what the words mean apart and together, and how those words fit into the fashion industry. And I also think it shows what I want to be as a brand. I want to set an example. I want to be the brands that I want to see in the world. I want to be the brand that attracts the kind of customers that I think we need today, because it doesn't just fall on one person to fix these problems that the fashion industry has, you know. It's customer and consumer. They both need to be working together to create change. And I definitely would like to view myself as a person who is part of the solution. So this is my way of coming up with a solution, setting an example, and that's what my brand is for. Yeah. Basically, I just believe that fashion can be beautiful and eco-friendly and friendly to its workers and all that other good stuff, but still make money, that kind of thing. So in order to do that, we need to reevaluate how companies operate, what is considered normal in the fashion industry, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that is a bit about my brand, and this is my logo. For my logo, what went into it is, if you haven't realized, I like symbols. I think when there's a meaning and a thought into things, it makes it easier for people to invest in your brand. So, and also convey what you stand for. That's really what a logo is, you know, kind of you in one little snapshot, something that is recognizable by people, you know, like with Gucci, you see those two G's and you know, luxury, that kind of thing. So for me, I just put my name in it, just because sometimes the easiest way to be recognized is just to tell people who you are. And I also wanted an imagery kind of thing, because when we were making it, they also said to think about, like, you know, is this something that you can put on, like, what is it? Like, not just a company logo, but you sell other things with your logo on it. So is it going to translate well if I wanted to put it on a charm for a bracelet or a t-shirt, or if it had to go on a big banner, you know, is it still going to look nice in all those forms? So that's why I wanted a more visual aspect, you know, just something where you see that and associate that with my brand. So that's why I went with a grasshopper, because it's something that I played around with, and whether it was shrunk down or really big, it was recognizable and you could tell what it was. And with me, I chose the grasshopper because nature, it's an animal, that's the kind of obvious on the surface one, but also like the meaning of a grasshopper, it's supposed to symbolize things like abundance, courageousness, resourcefulness, insight, stability, vibrancy, security, solidarity, balance, creativity, and it's also the grasshopper. If you're into, like, I guess, spirit animals or things like that, you know, when you look at a grasshopper, it suggests an ability to move forward only. It, you know, it's about advanced thinking and enlightenment. So I think something that fits with my brand. I'm trying to think about what the future of fashion is, be forward thinking, literally. So I felt the grasshopper really symbolized a lot of the attributes I want to see in my company, and a lot about what my brand is trying to do. So for my collection, I just decided to call it new. Why? This is my first collection. This is my first attempt at trying to do something new. So I just felt like, yeah, sometimes simple is better. You know, it is in the name. I'm just trying new things out right now. I'm trying to see what works and what doesn't. So now we're going to get into more about, like, the inspiration, the actual outfits themselves that show up in New by Denovo Eco. So to start, we had to come up with things like your target market, what season are you designing for, how exactly are you going to be making it, that kind of thing. So I decided that I wanted to do custom wear because, again, how I was saying, like, company and consumer need to come together. I think custom wear is a good way, at least for me, to do that, because custom wear is a lot of one-on-one. And I think it's a good way for me to show customers that there is a new way for them to go about how the fashion industry, there's a new way for customers to basically look at their relationship with fashion. You know, maybe they don't need to do those $5 t-shirts all the time from Fashion Nova, because it's gonna be messed up in less than a year and you're gonna have to go and buy more. You know, consider the fact that they could come to me, get one well-made garment, have it for 5 years, and should something happen, maybe you don't like the neckline anymore, or you gained weight, lost weight, you can bring it back to me and we can tailor it to fit you again, you know. And there's also that kind of personal aspect into it. So is this something you want to keep you know, it's something that makes you, hopefully makes you want to go out there and have more like custom pieces that you look at and you go, yes, this is exactly what I want. You know, I'm hoping that by doing custom wear, I can connect with my customers more and maybe kind of challenge them to look at how they view fashion, and hopefully they will take that and go out to other companies and be like, hey, you know, I like this brand that does this, maybe this is something you should consider. So it sounds weird, but it's true, you know, companies do listen to consumers, although it might not seem like it at times. So my line is for summer spring 2020. So I love summer. I don't know what to say about that. Yeah, summer spring 2020. Moving on to my target market. So we basically had to come up with our imaginary customer. What would the ideal person buying your clothes wear? And we basically do that so sometimes it's like easier to make something for someone else, you know? It's easier for me to stick to a clear idea because I could go, I'm not sure about this decision, but let me think about my imaginary customer, basically. And I go, oh, okay, well, this person wouldn't like if I designed it like this, or if I made it out of this fabric, so we're not going to do that. It just makes it easier to come up with your designs, have a clear kind of style, and it also makes it easier when you look at the marketing aspect of it, because you know who you're trying to entice to come in and buy it or contact you, that kind of thing. So for me, I chose the age range of like 25 plus. Because custom wear, it can be something that can be expensive. So traditionally, like 25 plus, you have more like disposable income. So maybe not right now at COVID, but you know, you would have more disposable income, so you would have the money and kind of want to spend it on something like custom wear. Someone who is into the arts, you know, there is a fine art kind of aspect to my collection. So someone who appreciates that wearable art type of thing, they're going to be more drawn to it. Someone who is aware of the environment conscious, they want the clothes that they wear to, you know, they don't want to feel guilty basically about the clothes that they're buying because they know that they aren't contributing to the waste. Someone who is more social in the sense that some of my designs are kind of statement pieces. So this is something where when you walk into a room, people are going to take notice. They're going to be like, wow, well, that's really cool. I don't see something like that often. You know, it's the kind of thing where people might come up to you to ask you questions about your clothes. So social in the sense that they aren't afraid to maybe have the attention on them, and they aren't afraid that this is something that is going to strike up conversations. People are going to want to approach you and ask you like, hey, where can I get this type of thing? And last but not least, someone who isn't afraid to step outside of the box, because again, like, it's statement pieces. The way I want to go about like running my business and connecting with customers, that's something you don't see often, again, because we're kind of in this age of like just go online, Fashion Nova type of thing, Shein, those kind of brands. So people aren't afraid to kind of step outside of that and try new things, and maybe try ways to find clothes that they aren't used to or maybe comfortable with at first, because it can seem like really weird. And yeah, I'm outside of the box in the sense that they aren't afraid that whatever clothes they're wearing might not be considered trendy. You know, if they're comfortable in it and it gives them confidence, they're gonna wear it regardless. Because shit, I think my clothes are trendy and I think they are nice, but again, like as I said before, in the fashion industry, there is kind of like this overarching, oh, this is in, this is not, this is hot, this is not. So traditionally, I don't think my clothes would fit into that, but I don't think that makes them not trendy, I guess, you know. But it comes down to you and what you like. So are you willing to just say, I don't care what Vogue is saying right now, I'm just gonna wear this because I like it? So onto my mood board. So I just want to note that I did decide to like hand make a pattern, so like hand painting, possibly some hand embroidery there. I've never done embroidery, so I'm trying it out. I don't know if it'll exactly work the way I want it to, but just know that the pattern was crafted by these two hands. So that's where some of the photos are, that's what some of the photos are for. So if we look at the three biggest photos in the center, we have one, it's a photo of this kind of oversized jacket with buttons and a cutout on the back, and it has like 3D embroidered flowers. That is a design by Nguyen Cong Tri. I absolutely love his designs and I highly recommend that you check him out. With him, I took inspiration because he does a lot of simple lines, but he always just adds something to like make it pop, and I love that. I loved that it was just, at first it could have just been a classic cardigan, oversized jacket, but he added the buttons, and I love the embroidered flowers. That's something that I took inspiration from when I was looking at doing my own pattern, because I would consider myself a nature-based brand, so what better way to convey that with nature itself, you know, flowers, plants, that kind of thing. And I love the 3D pop of it. The next photo is a vinyl collar. So vinyl does show up quite a bit on my board, as you can see with the I have like a vinyl bra, a bit of a skirt, there's the vinyl cropped shirt, cropped polo shirt. So with the vinyl, I'll explain more about why I chose that fabric when I talk about my fabric, but for me, I just took inspiration because I like the industrial look compared to like the natural soft flower vibe, so I like that contrast. So that's why I included vinyl in my designs. And then the last photo there is like a face line art. So for me, I do love the flowers, but I just felt like anybody can get a flower design. I wanted to make a pattern that would make people have to come to me, because this isn't something that you could just buy in the store, because there are a lot of floral patterns or leaf type of patterns out there. So for me, adding the line art was another thing that just kind of made it stand out, made it unique. And with the line art, this is something where if someone wanted a line art of their own face, I could include that in there to make it more personal for that person. And yeah, it didn't over busy the pattern, but it was just that little something that I felt needed in my designs. If you look at some of the other photos, we have more designs from Nguyen Cong Tri, some other like floral paintings, and those I just kind of inspiration from in terms of the type of flowers I could use, but also my color schemes. When we talk more about fabric, most of my fabrics are in like earthy kind of neutral tones. Also, if you keep seeing me looking off to the side, I have my laptop there just so I don't forget anything. So next we're going to talk about my fabric choices, and I want to start off with the vinyl. So this is the same vinyl that I used to make my shorts that I showed off in a previous video. It's fairly, if it'll unwrap. There we go. It's just thin vinyl, it's clear, so it's easy to work with. But I obviously have already talked a lot about the type of fibers that are used in the fashion industry, so it might seem odd that I'm using the exact type of fabric that is hard to break down because of the plastics in it. But I feel like we're in this age where we've already made so much of these fabrics, so we're at a point where we need to find something to do with them so they don't just end up in landfill. So that's one half of it, is using what we have now, and that's when we kind of see things like upcycling and like DIY, people kind of taking one thing like a shirt and making it into a different kind of shirt, like a long sleeve into like a strapless crop top or something like that. So like these things don't just end up in the garbage. And for me, like I had bought these to make the pants, and then fast forward a couple months into the semester and we're taking a course on fashion industry and its history and its issues, and that's when I first learned about the waste that comes from these fabrics. You know, when I was in a spot where like I can't unbuy this fabric, but I can make it into something that's not going to end up in a landfill, something that's not just going to go into the garbage. So that was one half of it, and the other half being that, okay, we need to find a way to productively use these fabrics that we have already made, but we also need to make sure that in the future we are being more conscientious of the type of fabrics that are being made and what we buy, because you can't deny that at the end of the day, sometimes you are going to have to buy a fabric that maybe has plastics in it that isn't going to decompose, because for some designs, you need certain fabrics to achieve a certain look, and you can't always find things that are out of natural fibers or organic. So it's kind of in the future finding that balance between making sure you aren't leaving a huge impact, but also staying true to like your creative vision, you know, how you want your garment to look. So for the vinyl, I wanted to, again, make something that isn't gonna end up in the trash, because it's there, I've bought it, I can't unbuy it. And then the other half, some of the other fabrics I had to use would be things like this lining. It's just a deep brown lining here. And things like this stretch knit jersey. I don't know how well you can see, but it's just a beige color here before we stretch. You know, things like these, you know, it's hard to find linings that are out of organic fibers or even natural fibers, and same with when you get into the more stretchier type of fabrics. So for me, I tried to be conscientious of the ways that I incorporated these into my designs, and that's also where the custom wear kind of comes in, because I can reduce my waste if I'm making exactly what I need, no more, no less. If someone comes to me and wants a shirt, then I can just get exactly what I need. And when I run out of these fabrics, then we move on, we do something else. You know, the point is to get rid of what's been made, not to get rid of it and then make more. So for the main fabrics, I got a linen, which is made out of hemp, a natural fiber. Let me just get a piece so you can see it better. This is stone washed linen. It's quite hard to see. It's light, it's a brown color. They said it was sand, but honestly I get kind of more like beigey type of vibes from it. But with linen, my line is summer spring, so it is very lightweight, which is great for the summer. It can be known to wrinkle a lot, but honestly, I don't think it made my designs any like look low quality. I think it fits with the look I was going for. And then I got a brushed, what is it, French? Yeah, brushed French terry. This is out of organic cotton. It's made from. So this is, they call this sand as well, but I'm getting more like tan type of vibes from it. I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera. But this one, there's so much fabric here, it's hard to like find a corner to show you guys, but it has some stretch and it is a bit fuzzy on the one side. So with this, even though it is fuzzy, it has like moisture wicking properties, so if you start to sweat, it's not going to get all gross and stick to you. And I also like that it had a bit of thickness to it, so even though you're not overheating in the summer, it's something that can transfer over to your winter, fall wardrobe, because you can just put a jacket over it and you'll stay warm. And last fabric is another terry, but this time just a different color. It's out of like a what is it? I don't know. It's green, like a moss kind of green. I really don't know how well these are showing up on the camera. It looked great to me, but I have them in person. And last but not least, my designs. So for design 1, it is a cropped polo shirt out of the French terry. It has a vinyl collar and it's detachable because I wanted to design a couple different ones so you can kind of mix and match. And the pants are made out of the linen. They are straight leg with a bit of a flare, and they just have a vinyl side stripe. The second outfit is a cropped polo again, but this time I kind of tried to imitate like a corset or like a bra using like the lines to give it that effect. I didn't use any of the boning or normal structure because my line is more casual, so I left it out. And then the bottom half is a gathered ruffle, and it's out of the vinyl. And if you can see in my designs, you can kind of see the pattern that I'm hoping to create by hand on the vinyl. And the pants that I paired with that are just, they're a tailored short with pleats. And the third and final design is a polo. Again, this one is not cropped because I don't want it riding up, because I paired it with an overall out of the linen, and the top half, save for the straps, are out of the vinyl. And for the skirt, I did the main body of the skirt and the pockets are out of the linen, but I just did vinyl overlays, so they're just attached at the waist and they just free hang, because it just felt boring to me with just the vinyl on the top, so I wanted to add a bit extra. With the placement of the vinyl, I tried to do like low stress areas because as I learned, like with working with the shorts, vinyl doesn't work good in high movement areas, like something like a crotch or an armpit. There's just too much movement and it doesn't sit right and it's hard to sew properly. But some place like the side seams or just like an overlay is not a lot of stress on the fabric, so it's much easier to sew and it's more comfortable for the person wearing it. So it might kind of seem odd that I am designing something even though I plan to do custom wear, but it's more just so you can kind of mix and match, because that's something that I personally found a lot. I would go into stores and I would see something, and a lot of times because of my body type it either wouldn't fit or there was just something about it that I didn't like. So I think giving customers the freedom to kind of change that, especially because a lot of times fashion does not include, it can be very exclusive when it comes to body types when we go into like bigger name stores. So that's something that I'm trying to remedy on my side of things. I'm super excited to be showing you all the processes that went into it. Next week we're going to be talking about outfit 1. So yeah, you're going to get to see a lot of the behind the scenes. I'm excited to share. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but you know, all good things are. So I will see you guys next Friday. Have a good week.